Hi everybody, Dana Litwin here again, and welcome back to Tuesday Tips for Leaders of Volunteers. Today, early in March, talking about how to attract volunteers who are interested in ecology, green events, Earth Day, things like that. You might be planning some Earth Day events coming up in April. Maybe that's coinciding with what is generally recognized to be Volunteer Appreciation Week, also in April. But really, this comes from a recent webinar I did, and I'll link to how to download that free webinar in the video description below. But today's volunteers, especially younger ones, especially Gen Z, really want to know what you as an organization that they might work with are doing towards sustainability and climate change and kind of green initiatives in general. People are also increasingly savvy and aware of greenwashing by companies and organizations that are kind of faking Earth Day interest or Earth Day events when they're not actually green or sustainable or doing those practices themselves. So people are pretty hip to that, and folks are going to do their research as to what volunteering opportunities will have kind of the best local and global impact. So if your organization doesn't have a mission that has anything to do with climate change or sustainability or green or eco themes, then that's okay, because you can still advertise no matter what your mission is if your organization does do any kind of sustainability practices as an org, as an agency. If you do have any of those practices, mention that in volunteer recruitment messaging, especially this time of year around Earth Day stuff. Even if you're not doing a specific Earth Day event, it's worth mentioning that as a potential draw for new volunteers. And if not, think about asking team members, whether those are paid staff or volunteers, to kind of form a green or net zero advisory committee to help make the case to organizational leadership, if that's who you need to convince to kind of get on board with reacting to climate change and sustainability and just, being a good green organization overall. So I'm going to link to my dear friend Martin J. Cowling's article that he co-wrote about this for a UK audience, but I think it applies universally. So look for the link to that article and blog in the video description below. But kind of looking for sustainability, green, eco themes, all of that is driving a lot of corporate volunteering groups as well. So that can be referred to as CSR, corporate social responsibility. And from the grassroots, pun intended, folks are self-organizing as informal volunteers. If they're seeing that a local nonprofit or government agency is not filling a need for the kind of climate change mitigation work or general sustainability messaging, then people are going to start to do things themselves. One of my favorite examples of this is what started as spontaneous hashtag trash challenge in Ukraine in around 2018 or so, that has grown to a very large international movement that anyone can do. It's completely accessible. You go out and you pick up litter somewhere in your own neighborhood or a park. It might be with an official organization. It might just be you and a group of friends or neighbors or family members. But you post on social media hashtag trash challenge and kind of have a friendly little contest, a friendly little game of who can have the most positive impact by amounts cleaned up. So that's kind of one of my examples of the energy that's behind this kind of movement. If you're also interested in just sustainability overall, having and forming that green or eco or net zero committee not only is good PR from not just a cynical point of view, but that really can create some positive changes in your organization. People are also increasingly interested in locally sourced food, permaculture, organic, and anything that really lessens a carbon footprint for them as volunteers and as organizations and community groups in general. Now, there might be a community garden aspect to the neighborhood or the community that you work with. So if you're not sure where to start with things like this, reach out to organizations that do have sustainability and green themes as their core mission and main focus, and partner with them and get some tips. And again, it's important to be sincere in this because people can see through greenwashing pretty easily. So let me quote a few important points that organizations, agencies can do that come directly from Martin's article. Implementing energy-saving measures, such as optimizing heating and cooling systems and switching off equipment, things like that. Also utilizing renewable energy sources as much as possible. And then educating volunteers and paid staff and really all team members about the importance of energy conservation and encouraging them to adopt energy efficient practices during their own participation with the agency, and hopefully they carry those good habits back home for themselves as well. Now, it has to be said that most of the damage to the climate is caused from larger corporations, larger government, military activity, things like that. So there has been a little bit of a push for individuals to take more responsibility than they have by those corporations who don't want the heat on them to make changes. But it actually does take people power and individuals to have that pressure to create that change from the ground up when the top is corporations are not responding as well, or they're trying to kick the can down the road of responsibility. So really, volunteers are the core of people power and are incredibly important to get this kind of work done that helps not just your agency and attracting volunteers, but has this larger global impact, hopefully, of helping to have at least a little bit of a piece of educating about, if not actively mitigating, climate change and working towards a more sustainable economy and world in general. If you have any questions about how to do this, most of my career has been with conservation agencies, so as always, feel free to reach out to me directly, dana@danalitwin.com. Check out my website, I'll have the links below, and if you enjoy these Tuesday tips and you're not yet subscribed, please do that. Please like and share with your peers, and we'll see you next week with more Tuesday tips. Take care.